Welcome to a very special episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go to the movies at our local Regal Cinema Theater, and then we talk about the movie right after it ends in the parking lot for Matt's Xterra. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, welcome. This is a very special edition of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies because we got access to a special sneak preview of the movie 1917. So it comes out in limited theaters on Christmas Day and for everybody else in the world on
December 10th, I think.
January 10th.
January 10th.
Something
yes.
like
December
that.
December 10th has happened already.
Yeah.
January 10th. Or maybe, I don't know.
So here is our non-spoiler review of 1917 before you can even see it in theaters, unless you were in the theater with us tonight.
Yes.
Which
some listeners were. We saw them.
That's right.
And we said hi.
It's very exciting to see fans out in the cinema with you.
Yes. Shout out to Cameron, who we saw.
Shout out, indeed.
I'm not sure if his wife listens, but I'll do a shout out to Sam, just in case.
Double shout outs tonight. Well, 1917 is a big epic war film. It follows the path of two British soldiers in World War I who are called in for a special assignment. They need to get across some enemy territory to another regiment or battalion or brigade or some military term that I'm not remembering right now. But the only way to communicate with this particular group of soldiers is to physically go there. And so they have a deadline. They have to get there before an attack happens so that the people know not to attack. And so it follows these two soldiers as they make their way through a series of gross and terrible and warlike conditions that make me never want to be a soldier in World War I. Fortunately, that's not really an option.
Yeah.
But they try to make their way to meet up with this other group of soldiers in time. So that's what I'll say about that.
Good job.
What did you think, Todd?
Well, I certainly expected to not like this movie because we were talking a little bit before the movie started. The ad campaign for this movie has been so heavily set on the fact that it's like kind of just a singular track shot. I don't know the terminology for it, but it's been like, in all the movies that we've seen since starting the podcast, this movie has been advertised heavily before the ones that we've seen for the fact that it seems like the way they set up the movie is that it's like one continuous shot. It's not, but it's like, that's what it feels like. There's no real cutaways or anything like that. There's not much of a break or anything like that. It's just like, you're on this journey with these two guys and it's like one continuous shot. So by the time we actually got to see the movie, I was so sick of this advertising that I think, if you know cameras and movies and that's like something really big to you and the technical side of stuff, then you probably were fascinated by it. But I was just tired of seeing it, and I was like, you've already set up this movie that if it doesn't deliver, I'm just going to be frustrated. But to their strike for them, the movie delivered. I really thought it was a really good movie, and I thought I would get kind of sick of this single kind of shot, continuous shot, and honestly I just really felt like it was used extremely well to make you feel like you are really with these two guys as they go on this journey. And I also kind of felt like in all the advertising of the movie, it's got a lot of big name stars as like side characters, like that you just kind of come across in the movie, and they advertise kind of that a general here is like Colin Firth, and this guy here is Benedict Cumberbatch, but none of like the two. I don't know the two main guys from anything at all. I don't know if they have done stuff or this was like their big break or whatever. But definitely in the advertising, I was like, now why would you have all these big name stars in these side roles and not like anything too notable for these two main guys? But they did extremely well, and the acting is very superb. The shots are, all of it, I mean, I feel like this is what they went for, but all of what they did is just to make you feel like you are part of this journey. Like, that you are with these two guys going through these perilous times. So, obviously, it's a little hard to expand on that without dipping into spoilers, and we are spoiler-free here. So, I'm going to say that they had a lot going against it coming into this movie because of how I was frustrated with their advertising and kind of done with it. And I was like, yeah, you did this. Get over yourself. I'm tired of seeing this stuff. But, hey, it worked. You did really well. And so if anyone is, a fan of, how movies are made and the stuff that goes behind the cameras and how difficult that is, then this is a movie that you should watch and appreciate. If you're a fan of storytelling and like just really being engrossed in a story and the suspense that can come from that, then this is a movie that you should watch. If you're a fan of war movies that is up your alley, it's stuff that you like to watch, this is something you should watch. If you're just a fan of cinema and want to go to the movie theaters to experience something, this is something you should watch. So I feel like that covers a lot of people, and yeah, I really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, this may be a movie where we differ in opinion a bit.
Okay.
I do agree with you that coming into it, I was feeling, when you see a lot of movies like you and I do, for the podcast and just because we like movies, you see certain previews over and over. And I feel like I've been watching the previews for this movie in particular for months and months and months.
We definitely have.
And I was like, going into it, I think I even said to you in the theater, I feel like I've seen the entire movie like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Based on the previews. Agree, this was a big, epic movie. There's the cinematography is great, and I'll agree that the acting is also great. Where I probably disagree a little bit is on story. I thought, while there are some suspenseful parts, they did not capture me with caring about the main characters. I was kind of like, I hope they make it, but if they don't,
oh well.
It's we went on a journey and we failed. But so I would say, and the other thing I felt about it was the pacing was a little bit slow in points, and that was probably intentional, and it was probably trying to communicate the difficulty and the tediousness of this journey that they're on.
Sure.
But I didn't like it from that perspective. Would I recommend it? I would say, some of the people that you brought up, like if you really enjoy technical, if you really enjoy war movies, or you're just looking for like a big movie with great cinematography and all the rest.
Yeah.
You could go see this and enjoy it decently. But like I said, I feel like the story falls short a little bit for me, and as far as keeping me engaged in this world that they built. It's beautiful, not really beautiful, warlike,
Sure.
gross ugliness. But Yeah. So overall, I would say it was fine. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. I don't think it's a terrible movie,
Sure.
but I'm kind of ambivalent about it.
Yeah, I think that there. I mean, as much as like I'm erring on the side of I did enjoy it, I think there are, just like with any movie, there are definitely things to nitpick in this movie. Specifically, a movie where you are under a timetable and you have to get from point A to point B as fast as humanly possible, and they really like, that is the story. They have to get to point A to point B really fast. There are times in the story where you're like, what you're doing is stupid. Like what, like very early on in the film, this is not a spoiler, they basically pass a house and they take the time to investigate the house. And I'm like, why are we here? Like, there was a time I got kind of a little frustrated during that scene because I was like, what are we doing here? Like, you are under a tight time restraint and there's no reason why you have to be in this house.
Yeah, I believe one of the characters even says at that point, it looks abandoned, and the other one says, well, we have to make sure.
We have to check it out. And
what?
I was like,
why
no,
do you have to do that?
No, you don't.
Don't do that.
So I think when you make these kind of movies, it's like, it's hard because you have to fill a movie. So you have to kind of, I don't know, maybe throw in stuff like that. But there are definitely times in this movie where you're kind of like, well, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
So, not to bring my rating down, but at least to say that I agree with you in some aspects.
Yeah.
So, how many Kaisers would you give this?
Kaisers. I will give it 2.7 Kaisers. I thought it was an above average movie in many respects, but like I said, the story falls short for me of really boosting it up to a higher rating in the 3s or even close to 4. So, what about you? How many Kaisers would you give it?
I'm just going to go with my gut here. This is an instant review. I'm sure this will change if you ask me in a week and as I think about the movie more. But, I'm coming out of this movie feeling really good and feeling pretty positive about the experience. So I'm going to give that, I'm going to let that correlate into my rating and say that I'm going to give this like a 3.9. Like, there were definitely things to, I'm going to say 4. I'm just going to give it that extra little.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 4.
Nudge it up there.
Nudge it up.
Full 4 Kaisers.
Full 4 Kaisers. Yeah, like I said, I think I really expected to not enjoy this movie just because of how much it's been advertised to us, and they got me. I think they achieved what they wanted to achieve with me. Whether or not that sticks, and over the next couple of weeks as I think about this movie, whether or not I start to pick it apart, like I think most people kind of do when you start to think about it, and you're outside of the initial, oh, I watched this was interesting kind of phase. Could fall, could stay the same. I don't know, but that's where I'm going to land.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode. Thank you very much for listening. We had sort of a split decision this time on 1917.
But that's okay.
That's okay. We're allowed to not be of one accord completely. And I don't think we were that far off when it comes right down to it. But please continue to listen to our podcast. We love to hear from fans, and we love it when you listen. So keep on doing it.
We love to hear from you guys, even though there's not really a way for us to hear from you guys.
Well, that's true.
I don't know. Maybe we'll create something one day.
Yeah. I think you can email us somehow on something.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Try it.
Da 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 da.